Okay, we're going to talk about pink slip quarter. I want you to learn something here. Most people don't look at the fact when they get laid off, usually they take it personal. It's not personal. It's strictly business. But what people underestimate is people you thought that you were working hard for after 10 years, 5 years, 20 years, 30 years. I have an example. I worked with 3M for many, many years, and I had a friend that worked there for 30 years, a loyal employee. And she called me after not knowing her for close to 20 years, and she says, Rock, what do I do? They just laid me off. 3M just laid me off, of course, with severance pay and probably some other perks, okay? I says, what the fuck you been doing for 30 years? That's the point. You need to advance when you're working for a corporation, especially a public corporation. You have to look at it as a stepping stone, and it's not for long. There's no more golden handcuffs on this shit. No. And if you're working, I've been accustomed to the printing industry, public companies, private equity, and so on. And a lot of these guys that are, I'm in my 70s. I still work with people in their 40s and 50s, and they're getting laid off left and right. And they think they're successful. And then till they get laid off. Then the question is, what am I going to do? You should have been thinking that. There's no long-term commitment to you. There's no contract in employment unless you're really lucky. You know what I'm saying? Like I was back in my 30s, because I had leverage. I was part owner. So I'm telling you, man, this pink slip quarter is a serious deal. Now, how do you basically prepare for it? Well, one thing that I've done and I'm proud of is I always shared with my kids, because I was going through a divorce, going through a job change, getting fired, getting demoted, all in my between 30 and 40. Okay? And that was a critical time. Plus, I had obligations. I had alimony payments. I had child support. Plus, I was what I believe is a single parent. I raised my kids under my discipline plan, which is I'm one of 11 kids. But here's what I had. I had a work ethic. And I also realized that people can screw you, your own family. I was in the family business. I was demoted. I was told to leave. I was basically, I had to buy my own business back. You talk about Steve Jobs, about losing his position, and then he had to leave and then restart up a new corporation. I did the same thing. Once I realized I was independent and I was basically all alone, including no marriage, okay, and that obligation was bigger than my job in my career. So that was my motivation, was to press on and be able to educate my kids. And I call it the 3 E's. You educate, you encourage, you empower. Now that doesn't work with everybody, and it might not work with you, okay? So when you get let go, first of all, don't take it personal. It is a shock. It's a huge shock. And the first thing people think is, number one, can we sue this company? I mean, that's the first thing people think about. You ask all these attorneys about the exit or the lawful regulations of, let's say, for an example, the state of Minnesota, what you can do, what you can't do. And you go on TikTok, you go on YouTube, there's a lot of suggestions on get the personnel file. They can't do this. Call an attorney. Don't sign anything. It's not going to stop anybody. Don't you think that these corporations know the rules? They know the rules. And they also realize when they could let you go, when they can't let you go. But the most important thing is they look at your performance and they look at your pay grade. Yes. And when there's a merger and acquisition, you could be on the bottom of the totem pole, okay? Because at the end of the day, It's the buyer that makes the rules. No matter if you spend 30, 40 years with a company and you think there's going to be loyalty. Like my brother-in-law, he spent 43 years at one company. Another brother-in-law spent 33 years. And what did they get? They got a fucking boot. A pink slip. And they were loyal as hell. But when you're asked to leave, but listen, you're going to get severance pay. You're going to get COBRA. You're going to get, a kick in the ass. And now they don't even offer recruiting services or job search services. Those days are over. And I know many guys that are in their 40s and 50s and actually 15 to 20 years without a real job since they were let go by a corporation. Seriously. Then they say your resume, you jumped around too much. I know a couple good successful people that got the boot and competed with younger opportunities. And why? His resume showed achievements. It wasn't even a resume. It was a pitch book. We called it a pitch book. Here's what I did for the last 30 years, and I'm still looking to help you. What do you think? And there were like 600 candidates, and he got the job. And he's in his 60s. But he knows it's for a short time. When I got let go and realized, and I moved down to Florida, I started talking to people about, man, I got to do something. I got to do something. My kids were all out of the house. They're all college graduates. I was proud of that. They all got their jobs, but they learned too that it's the NFL, not for long. And as an entrepreneur, I just wanted something to kind of grow into, learn a different project, and so I became a W-2 under a grace period. And eventually, I looked at this company, their culture. I looked at their benefits. I looked at the vision of the company, of the owners. And after that 90-day grace period, when they said to me, the hiring of me at a W-2, which was very few bucks, and believe me, I could have ran that company very easily. But I wanted a change, and I wanted an opportunity to keep busy. Well, after that 90 days, I realized, you know what, this company's not going anywhere. And I gave my resignation at the point that they wanted to renew my contract, not give me any more money. And they just basically were, what should I say, demotivating me. However, they wanted my services because they knew I was experienced, I knew what I was doing. And I was in sales. And sales guys, everybody should know sales takes time, okay? So I turned around and says, listen, here's my expense report. I appreciate it. I appreciate you giving me that opportunity, but here's my resignation letter. Adios. Thank you very much. Guess what happened? They didn't pay me my expense report. So I had an attorney write a demand letter, and guess what they said? Forget about it. Okay, no problem. I moved on. 2 years later, guess what happened? They went out of business. Yes, I can predict companies that have potential and companies that don't have potential. And that's why I only work with companies that have potential. But when companies have potential, there's a lot to it. You got to have a good brand, you got to have a good culture, you got to have a good team, you got to have money to grow, okay? And a lot of people don't realize that. So when they go to sell, they don't realize that it's not the top line that they're selling their business for. It's the bottom line times a multiple, okay? And the multiple could be zero. It could be a liquidation sale. It could be a multiple of whatever the net is. And that's what I've learned in the last 25 years, how to value companies, how to look at not only the future, but look at the potential if you put 1 + 1 equal more than 3. That's what they say. That's the valuation, okay? Now, let's talk about you. What have you done in the last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years What do you expect? Do you feel like, oh my God, they let me go? Okay? And the worst place to work is for a family business where you realize that you don't have a chance when it comes down to advancement. And if you do get advanced, it's very short time, and eventually you got to start thinking for yourself, man. That's what I learned after selling my 40% of my business at that time. I realized, oh my God. And that's one thing my parents taught me: save for a rainy day. You never know what's going to happen. You have to take care of yourself, but you also have to know your value. So even though you know it's going to come someday, somehow, either your age, your performance, the company's performance, you're going to be at the point, like an athlete, it's going to come to an end. So be prepared. So don't feel sorry for yourself. Prepare for it. Yeah, but Rock, I got kids in college. So? Didn't you save for them? Do they have to do it like most people do? Get their own, or go into a trade. I'm really high on the USPS right now. Why? Because they got great benefits. But are you fit to do it? And there's advancement there. And they're going with innovation. They're going with security, safety, culture. You see? Now, if there's really something, and I'm going on YouTube to have a live version of Pink Slip Quarter to talk about, no matter what age you are, what to do if you're either laid off, fired, or how to prepare for your future, because eventually it's going to happen. What's interesting is I have a 50-year career. I've had 8 different careers. Okay? 8. And I think, one was one company, and the rest were my own companies. Okay? Now, my own son has told me, and he's in his mid-40s, he's already had five different careers already. See the difference? In my day, people would go to 30, 40 years to retire and to get their watch. They got a pension. They got something that, was worthwhile. Maybe even a party, maybe with cake, coffee. They don't do that shit anymore. No. Don't expect it. Don't expect it. The key is there's a couple good things. And I think I used it one time. When I sold my business in 1993, I sold it to my ex-partner. But guess what I did after the closing? I went back to the employees that I worked with for 17 plus years. And I walked through and I thanked everybody, because that's all I could do, is thank them. And I even thanked the guy that threw me under the bus to get to that point. And I know it pissed him off, because I walked away. I walked away with FU money. FU money? Same as walk-away money. That's what you need to feel good about your next transition. Transition is a sophisticated word. You know what most people think? Change. I don't like change. What's the percentage of people that like change? Nobody. Nobody likes change. Well, guess what? You're going to have to change. See what I'm saying? Sorry about the helicopter. I'm here in Florida. So bottom line here is, if there's a few things that I could refer after 50 years being in business and sharing it with my own kids, besides the 3 E's, which is education, encouragement, and empowerment, I would say you need, number one, have a job. Why have a job? Because you're going to be known. You're going to be known as a worker or lazy. You're going to have a reputation. And I always believe in integrity. And if the company doesn't have integrity or culture, that's when you have to say goodbye, because you're going to be referred. Okay? You have to be very careful to sign a non-compete. Okay? Now, why have a job in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, and 50s? It's all about networking. I got 80,000 people in my CRM. You might call it a Rolodex, you old farce. Okay? Yeah, I went digitized. I went technology. I couldn't keep 80,000 contacts in my mind. Then I got another 50 in social media, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn. I'm still connected. I even wrote a book to keep my name out there, my credibility as the deal flow guy, or Rock's got integrity. You could trust Rock. You can get to the finish line with Rock. All that shit. So there we go. Networking is number one, okay? Your reputation and so on is you keep going, talking to people, keep moving. And that's one thing you're going to notice. When I was at 3M, working with 3M for almost 30 years as a supplier, I would see guys move every 3 to 5 years. Go overseas, 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is. Build a platform, build something. Well, that, you know what that is? Advancement. Advancement. Now you know all these guys, and I was in my 20s, early 20s, when I saw all this. I would say over 90% of these guys are dead now. That's right, dead. Passed on. My father is 100. He's still alive. He knew the guys that I dealt with because I was the successor to my father, okay? And I had to pay for it. It wasn't easy, believe me, all right? It was really hard for my 10 brothers and sisters, my father, to let go. And I had to go all in because I was in dire straits. But guess who took care of me? God. The faith that I had. And I stuck and I stayed. We call it in our family, stick and stay is bound to pay. It's called resilience, persistence, persevere, integrity, doing the right things. And I've seen a lot of people come and go, believe me. And why am I on YouTube saying this? Because I'm telling you, like I would tell my own kids, you got to network, man, and you got to provide. There's only two things that you need to provide in life. It's number one, solutions. You have to provide a solution to have a job, okay? To be even recognized. And number two, you got to be in sales. Sales generates revenue. People need sales guys. So those are the two things that you have as my son would call capital. Your capital skill set is yourself, okay? Now, we talked about networking. We talked about your skill set, all right? You need to be able to sell yourself to a company. But before you start talking about a company, who to work for, don't panic. Don't panic. You have to understand who you're going after. What company you want to work for? You want to work for 3M? You want to work for DHL? You want to work for FedEx or USPS? You got to look at the culture. You got to look at the culture. Private equity is a big thing now because people are all looking at the big bucks. There's no fast way of making money, believe me, unless you're an entrepreneur and you spend 20, 30 years doing it. Because if you don't have control of your own life, your own career, and you're betting on the come, yeah, someone's got to do it. I understand that. Somebody's got to have a job. You got to provide for your family and so on. But as I mentioned, number one, have a job, no matter what it is. And that's where you start networking. You start going to trade shows. You start really getting the word out there. Now, let's say you got a pink slip. Let's say you're fired. You got to take time to really understand what happened. What was your past? What was your skill set? And don't forget the culture that you're working for. You surely don't want to work for that same culture or a competitor. You might have to look at the industry. But what about the next chapter? What if you say, you know what, I want to start my own business. I want to be a freelance. I want to be a 1099. That might be a better way, but you always need that FU walk-away money. So you have to plan for it. And Social Security is only going to be so much in your future. And don't forget, you got to work and qualify. I think it's 40 quarters determines your Social Security monthly benefit. Then at a certain age, it's either partial or full benefit or a premium at 70 today. Now, they're talking about upping that age bracket. So you hear the thunder? The thunder is when it rains, it pours, and that's what happened to me. So I'm on YouTube now trying to explain that there's hope out there. And you have to start taking care of yourself and your family. Start looking at your home as a budgetary business. You got to budget so much. You got to expense so much. You got to communicate to your kids and your wife or your spouse. Listen, we're on a budget for at least a year or 2 years. Do you know what it's taking? If you're, let's say, over 50 for sure, it used to be about a year, a few years back, that you really get a job that's comparable. Now it's 3 years. Well, what if you're 65 or 62 and you got to go to 65, but get full benefit? Is it what, 67 now? Think about that. You got to start talking about cash flow. You got to start talking about what's good for the family. And you're going to have to change, man. You're going to have to change. All right? So my thought here is, number one is keep working. Network with the people that you know from, I'm talking college. Let people know. Don't be embarrassed. Hey, listen, I just got let go. People are getting let go. It's a white collar recession right now, big time. And I'm in the printing industry for 50 years, so people are getting cut left and right. As I mentioned, my brother-in-law's cut. It's going to happen sooner or later. You know what I mean? Private equity's taken over, and private equity, you think they care about the employees? Think about that. So you have to prepare to get cut loose. Now, be prepared, because when that day comes, no one's going to take care of you. Your boss, they got to survive. They're the cutbacks. You know how hard it is, me as an employee and an employer, I had to, those are painful days, is when you got to lay off people. You know? And in my case, I cared. Most of these people don't care. They're worried about themselves. Believe me. You know, and just because you have a great year, you can't count on that. And these sales guys today are they're dime a dozen, man. They don't care about your relationships anymore because they protect those with a non-compete. And today, once you're let go, you will not recover your salary. You will not recover the salary that you've had. It's basically 30 to 50% of what you were making. But is that good enough? It might be. It might be for another year, 2 years. Think about that. So it's really about what you did in the past, you know, and who you know. Forget about LinkedIn, these resumes and the AI covering this, and even HR. My buddies that are specialized in recruiting are placing 5% or less of the 300 resumes that they get every year. And it's always that second quarter. And then they just keep churning the last 6 months, and then you might get hired for January, February, March. And it's a huge competitive cycle because people don't want to pay the benefits and so on. And who's going to commit to a 7-year commitment to a company that you might not make it that long? So here's the 3 things that specialized recruiters are saying. If you have a non-compete, forget about it. You can't get out of it, okay, depending on the state, all right? Number 2, they're not going to pay for relocation. They won't even pay for you to go interview and go look out there. No, it's going to be on Zoom, but can that really help? I don't know. Sometimes they ghost you, they don't get back to you, whatever. And then the last one basically is your pay. You ask about your pay, and don't be disappointed when you hear 30% of what you were making. Maybe at the most 50. It's like a divorce. You get 30% of your net worth or net worth, or 50% if you have a good lawyer. But fuck them. Everything is down to you, your negotiations, and it's not about what you did yesterday. It's what you can really provide. Now, I'm going to tell you another thing that came about that is actually insulting. I know a guy that interviewed, and while he was interviewing, he was asked to come up with a strategic plan for the company, and they would review it and see if they would hire him. And what I couldn't believe is he did it. Do you think he got hired? No, he didn't get hired. So he just provided a $25,000 to $50,000. This is before AI. $25,000 to $50,000 strategic plan to a company for free. Yeah, they'll pick your brain. And see, that's where I was at. I was an owner that built the company and the culture, and I would consult for other companies, even competitors. And they tried to pick my brain, but I learned way ahead that you don't do anything without getting paid. And number one, without a contract. We call that an engagement. Yeah. And as the last 5 years, I picked and chose who I wanted to work with. I would know within days if I could work with the person. If I can't work with the person, I'm not interested. So I started working with private equity, because private equity they got OPM, other people's money. Yeah. They got lawyers, they got strategists, they got finance people, all in-house, paying millions of dollars to do a deal. And I would bring the seller or the founder, and they had no fucking clue what was going on. So I became an advisor, a therapist, a rabbi, and a priest, all rolled into one. Because I know these guys. The greed. It's fucking greed. And then their kids are even worse in a family business. So believe me, man, I mean, there's a lot there, but I would say my 50-year career, and that was one of my goals, to work for 50 years, call it a day, develop my own Hall of Fame, which is me. I'm the only one eligible. My kids are going to be in it too, I'm sure, because I'm the only vote. And so my deal was keeping my mouth shut, knowing the potential of the company, being in sales, coming up with solutions, picking the right horse. In other words, my team, I would pick my own team, okay? And they became entrepreneurs, and I am so happy. I wasn't envious or jealous of people that made more money or anything. No, I wanted everybody happy. The culture was key. How many people had a pension at age 21? I had a pension that still stands today, which is a Roth. Okay? So I'm telling you, this pink slip quarter, you're going to have to change. And you should have known. So don't panic. And it's like a divorce. In my mind, a change in a career is like a divorce. You really grieve it. Because you went into it, you invested in it, you put everything into it. All of a sudden, you're betrayed somehow, some way. And I don't know if it's people or if it's the gods. Maybe it's just to say, okay, we'll see how strong you are, how much you persevere, how ambitious you are, if you're resilient, if you persevere, if you're all in for your kids to have a better life, or you pissed off at your company or your spouse or your boss. Doesn't count. So I'm on YouTube, man. I talk about this shit, and I'm having a live just to say, listen, here it is. And if you miss it, go on the replay. It's the same old shit, which is, it's up to you. You want to cave? You want to quit? Some people hurt themselves because they failed for whatever reason. Okay? So either way, you got to move on, man. And I love when I could tell somebody that tried to fuck me over or betray me, and I was prepared for them, like I always am. Now, do I trust? Sure. But I'm like Reagan. I trust, but I verify. That's due diligence. That's the only time picked the right horse. Have I made mistakes? Yes. I've picked the wrong, but those are all lessons. Wins, losses, and lessons. I don't regret my life. I don't regret what I'm saying to you. And I think the younger the kids are, the more they say, yeah, this guy's been through some shit. The older you are, is, Rock, you were lucky. No. I was both educated, formally, informally, and the best education I got was the wins, the losses, and the lessons. Because I tell you, I love to win, man. I love to win. I don't care if it's a baby win, a puppy win, or if it's fantasy football. I don't give a shit. See what I mean? To me, it's strategic. If it's all strategic. Now, the biggest mistakes, financial mistakes I made, marriage and divorce. Because I had to get out. I had to get out. Otherwise, I would hurt my kids. You see? You don't get in a foxhole with somebody that's going to fucking stab you in the back, man. See what I'm saying? And you're the provider. You're the breadwinner. The people that are listening to this, I'm sure you're the breadwinner. And people will walk all over you when they know you're down and out. In fact, they'll try to take advantage of you. Like my ex-partner tried to do. And I waited him out. Fucking Rock wins. That's like winning the World Series, the Stanley Cup, Super Bowl, all in the same day. When you walk out with that FU money. Because I never had to look at anybody else and say, pink slip quarter. No. And that's the other thing I'm proud of. All my team that I've had over the years, I've always had a team. I selected the best of the best, people that have integrity. I paid them and so on. But I gave them a 3-year out saying, listen, when I hit 70, I'm done. Here's the contract. I passed it on. So now I'm just saying, I'm a referral agent. I'm on YouTube, and I'm trying to educate, encourage, and empower. If you're in 20s, try to set up your own business. Because if you're working for somebody, you have no control. You're capped. You know what cap means? C-A-P. They say that in finance. You get a cap. So let's say, for example, they say, listen, Rock, you're going to make $100,000 this year. But that's where it stops. Even though you earned $150,000, you're only going to get $100,000. Would you take that deal? That's what they tried on me. And I was a fucking owner. I'm like, fuck you. No, it's not going to happen. And I was the top sales guy. See what I mean? So I knew what to do, and I saw it coming. So I informed my clients that, hey, I got a non-compete probably for the next 3 years. I'm doing this, and then I'm going to restart up, and then we'll start doing some again. What was that? Number one, integrity, trust. I'll bring them solutions. I'll bring them service. And I keep my promises. That's what I did. So that's what you got to do. Keep your promises. To your family, to your spouse, to yourself. Your career is your career. But don't go blaming anybody else. There's no excuses. And you might say to me someday, you know, Rock, I picked the wrong horse. Or you might say, Rock, thank you, I picked the right horse, man, and look how happy I am. And by the way, my happiness is also to my family and my kids. That's right. All right, so I know this is long, it's lengthy, but I had to talk about it. And by the way, my website, I got downloads about loyalty, about strategies, how to buy a business, how to sell a business, how to look at succession, all this stuff. For 50 years I've been doing this, and so I created a guides. You see? Because it's all in play. It's all in play. So I have a lot going on in my life, but the best thing I could do is try to educate. That's what I'm trying to do. All right, so I hope I see you on YouTube, on LinkedIn, wherever it is. And I'm living my life, but I don't want you people to get screwed, man. I've seen too many people get screwed. And I could say, well, I told you so. I don't like saying that. I don't like saying that. I was just not only educated, as they say, Rock, you were lucky. Yeah, I'm lucky. But when I was in my 20s, I would ask entrepreneurs that I not only respected them, I probably admired them when I was that young. Now I don't admire these guys. I respect them. Because I know a lot of them didn't keep their promises, especially later in life, because then it's always about the money and the family. You know what I mean? They don't care about the employees. No. And I could name off a lot of companies right now that'll tell you they got screwed. They screwed their people, and the culture was terrible. And then all of a sudden PE buys them and makes it even worse. Private equity. Because there's no culture there. It's all about margins. So you need to be lucky. And I would ask these guys, I said, wow, how'd you get so successful, And after 30, 40 years of trying to develop something, and here they're going to pass it on to their kids, if they do that even, they'll say, well, I was lucky. I didn't believe in luck before. Now I do believe in luck. But the other one is blessed. A blessed person. I feel blessed and lucky. So that's a double whammy, man. And that's because I have a faith. You see? So that's kind of where I'm coming from. And you gotta, that's the other thing I learned, is you gotta pass it on. Once you hit certain goals and aspirations and achievements, how many wins do you need? The biggest win now is your health. Here, I'm on YouTube at 71 years old plus. I could do this in Florida, enjoying the weather and enjoying my life. But I know it's going to come to an end, and I'm going to eventually move and do other things. So my writings, my books, my wisdom, my YouTubes, my videos, it's all yours. You can have it. You can have it. And I always would say to my clients is, well, you got to do your homework. Guess how many would do their homework? Very few. And then I would get fired usually maybe 30, 60 days in. Why? Because they didn't want to hear the truth. It would take a lot for people to grow their businesses, and a lot of people don't want to do that. My son said this so articulately in the last couple of years. He goes, Dad, it's not difficult to buy a business. It's difficult to grow a business. And that's perfect. It's so true. And most private equity and most founders, it's coming to an end. In the second generation or the next management or private equity, wipes out the legacy of the family. That's what happened to our family. There's no culture there anymore. These people are getting left and right in the bag segment. Yeah, they made their money, but can they live with that? Can they live with that? See, I believe in integrity. I believe in culture. I believe in taking care of people. When it hurts is the best time, because God knows you're doing good deeds. And that's what it's about, doing good deeds. So I'm rambling now, but I'm just saying it's what you really did in the past. But I want to get these younger generations to realize, listen, man, you got to be careful out there. You got to be really careful, making sure you pick the right horse. In your friends, in your colleges, in your trade schools, your choices, a spouse, a relationship, a career. Man, but guess what? You got to go through the life cycle, man. You got to go through the life cycle. That's just part of it. And I'm finishing strong, and I feel good about it. And my dad's 100. He must have did something right? I'm one of 11 kids. We're all alive. There's a reason for it. Work ethic. integrity, faith. Got to believe, man. And you got to believe in yourself. Don't go believing in anybody else, because they'll fuck you over. Eventually, somehow, including your kids. That's why you got to be careful. What do they call it? Tough love. So that's my approach to you. Tough love. All right, I'm cutting loose. This is rock. Keep your promises. That's key. Think integrity, because integrity matters. God bless.